After the attacks on September 11th, many Muslim Americans feared anti-Islamic backlash. So 10 years later, how is life for Muslims in America? Joining us is the president and founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. Dr. Jasser, great to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you.
So how would you describe what has happened to the Muslim community since September 11th?
Well, I think, basically we've had a crash course in responding not only, I look back at this pit of destruction and I say, wow, our country was attacked. I was attacked not only as an American, but I think of myself as a lieutenant commander in the Navy, and I wanted to fight back against those that attacked our nation. But also as a Muslim, I realized that the struggles that my family had escaping from Syria and many of us Muslims had, and you see that in the Middle East now, so many Muslims have taken responsibility for their own condition, but yet American Muslims have been protected from that because of political correctness, because of victimization, and because of so many of the groups that claim to speak for our behalf that are basically Muslim Brotherhood front groups, but they've avoided the discussion. And I think now you're seeing 10 years later other groups, diverse voices coming up and saying, we want to take responsibility. This is not just condemning terror. This is about countering the ideology that fuels radicalization. And the reason we're more or less secure today than we've ever been is we have yet to muster a significant response from within the Muslim community.
And why is that? Hasn't there been a more vocal, significant response?
Well, I think you've got three groups basically. One is the victimization group that's all about collectivizing Muslims and being about Islamism and in denial. The other group is our group, the reformists, that are still trying to get our legs sunken in and begin to build our infrastructure. But the larger silent majority came to the United States escaping these ideas, wanting to get away from al-Qaeda, get away from the Islamists and the theocrats and the monarchs and the dictators. And we realized that it chased us here, and we have to fight back and not blame America, not blame the West, but take responsibility for our own clerics and our mosques and others that are. Most Muslims here are peaceful. They believe in American freedom. They believe in the Constitution. But we have to work on reform. Islamism and al-Qaeda did not come out of a vacuum. It came out of an ideology that's still in the 13th and 14th century that doesn't separate mosque and state. And if we're going to melt away the Islamophobia that may exist, we have to show that we're essential in leading the fight, that we're going to be in the front lines to beat this idea. It's growing across the world. We can't be complacent. We're more at risk today than ever before. And if we're going to beat that, Muslims have to lead this fight. This is a Muslim problem that needs a Muslim solution.
And Dr. Jasser, just help us understand, what does that look like? What would that reform and that fight look like?
That's a great question. I think it would look no different than what America looked like when we fought back against the theocrats of the Church of England. When we separated church and state in the West, we had an enlightenment that relegated theocracy to the dustbin of history. And I think similarly, the Iranian regime, the Saudi regime, the Hamas and al-Qaedas of the world will go away when Muslims can separate mosque and state, believe in individual liberty, relish in being Americans first and Muslims second, not about being Islamic political groups, but rather about being comfortable in secular democracies, that we have an identity in this Western society, and that we will fight against the Islamists within our own community and not just be in denial that somehow we're being attacked because we're Muslim.
Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, it's always great to talk to you. Thanks so much for your expertise in this field, and great to see you this weekend.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Allison.
All right. Meanwhile, Rick Perry blasted